that only the person who is speaking will their webcam be recorded. All of the audio gets recorded, but just in case you're a little shy about showing up on the webcam, just know that your webcam won't be recorded unless you're speaking also. So just know that. So thanks everyone for being here. You can have you can get the copy of the slides there at that bit.ly address. Otherwise, they were attached to the calendar invite too. Just some things about Google Meet. I think everyone in here has been using Google Meet quite a bit, but just in case, you can hover or click on the screen to get the toolbar. You can mute and unmute yourself. We'd ask for part of it that you stay unmuted while you're talking, but then of course, if you've got any questions, want to jump in with any pieces, super informal today. I've got slides, but we're going to be mostly conversation. So just feel free to unmute yourself. You can keep your camera on the whole time, whatever you're comfortable with. If you want the closed captions, you can just click on the bottom there to have turn on captions. As I do every time, we talk a little bit about why we're doing office hours. So of course, we, as a Region 3 community of practice, decided to start these up and offer a place where people could have discussions about things that they're using during distance learning. But I'd encourage you to keep your why in mind, why you're joining us today, and as we work through things. We always talk about the SET framework. We think about the student, their strengths and areas that we're asking them to do tasks in. The environments are where they're being asked to do those tasks. The tasks are the things that we want them to do either more independently or at a higher level of accuracy. And then we talk about the tools that we can use to support them to do those things. So keep that framework in mind as we're moving through things. Today, we're going to talk a little bit more about Jamboard. And Sherri Walker, who was kind enough to share last week with us a bit about Jamboard and how she's using it. I'm hoping Sherri will give us a little update on how things are going, and we can talk about how other people might have started using it. Greg Sumner is going to talk just for a couple seconds about using Slack to continue some of these conversations. We'll have plenty of time for question and answers, then a quick wrap up. So very informal again today. I put this slide in here. This is just resources that were shared last time. Some brief tutorials on how to use Jamboard, which is Google's interactive whiteboard, and then also a recording of our office hours from last time just linked in there in case you wanted to watch a little more information on that. So that's about it. I mean, I just, in terms of Jamboard, wanted to get an update and hear which people, if people have started using it. Sherri, I'd love to hear from you if you've been using it more, any updates that you have. And then kind of just everyone be keeping in mind which students or tasks might this be a tool that's best for. But I'll stop sharing my screen and just kind of let the conversation happen here.
Well, this is Sherri. I'm continuing to use it, and I'm pretty much using it with the same two students that I talked about last week, and in the same format. So it's working well in some ways, and then in some ways I'm getting frustrated because it's not going far enough for me. And so that's where I'm fine. The limitations are frustrating me. Let's put it that way. So
can you talk a little bit about that, Sherri? Like what are the limitations, or what are the things that are holding you back at this point?
Well, so when you go to type something, you're not typing directly on the board. You have to write on the board, and then sometimes you run out of room. Or when you want to go do an activity, it's not as easy sometimes as you want it to be, like on a smart board.
Sure.
And then I think, oh, if I was just in Google Slides, it would go much easier because I could just do this, this, and this, and it would be there, and boom, I would be done. So I've been going back and forth between Google Slides and Jamboard, and I'm trying to figure out like how to use them together. And because you can't put a video on Jamboard, but you can put a video in Google Slides. And you can't put a link into Jamboard, but you can put them into Google Slides. So that's where I get I get frustrated with Jamboard. Because then I have to have all these tabs open on the top when I'm using Jamboard. So that's become a little bit of a frustration. But my students are getting very good at using Jamboard and very comfortable with Jamboard because it is so minimalistic and easy to use. So it's kind of one a half dozen of another, you know.
I love it. That's beautiful. And I feel like that's with so many tools, right? Like it's like you have this great component to it and it's great for this particular set of tasks, but then it just doesn't work for these other things. And
Right.
yeah, so that's, I mean, that's perfect, that framing, Sherri, in terms of what pieces it might work for and which pieces it won't.
Right.
I just see Greg just had a question. I'm going to go into the chat window. Ooh, hearing a little background noise there. Greg said, is the issue of Google Slides and Jamboards you can't pull the slide into it easily?
I've not tried to put a slide on. I don't think you can put a slide onto Jamboard.
I think you could do like an image of the slide, but it wouldn't be interactive, I wouldn't think.
No, it wouldn't be interactive.
Yeah.
I mean, I can try it.
Because I was watching videos of it this weekend and I saw that I thought they pulled the slideshow in and then you could flip through it and then pull one slide into the Jamboard and shut the slideshow. So I'm just curious.
Oh.
So,
I mean, we can try it.
I'm not sure it's working. It would work, but that's what I was playing with it. I was trying to use like some spreadsheets sheets, but the video I saw, I thought it said something about that. So,
well, I have a couple, I have one interactive Google slide made so I can download it into Jamboard and show everybody. I mean, we can try it.
I mean, give it a run. I'm curious.
Yeah, Sherri, while you're doing that, maybe we can open it up to everyone else too and see if anyone else has been using Jamboard or if they've had any experiences with it too. Feel free to unmute yourself, or even if you haven't used it, maybe if there are some ways in which you could see yourself using that in the future. Otherwise, we can kind of continue and see how Sherri's project is going too.
This is Krista. I just really scratched the surface of trying to figure out how to use it, and I had a question about the notes feature. And I feel like Sherri said something about like you could use it where you each have your own sticky note and then you post it. But I couldn't figure out how to do it. But I was just using it by myself. Is that, I don't know, Sherri, if you multitask and answer that question at the same time. Yeah, I couldn't tell like if it was your own, like as you're doing the sticky note and then you all post at the same time. That was what you were doing the game. Oh, sorry, it sounds like my sound's breaking up.
Yeah, I can show you how to do that, Krista. Holy, oh, I don't want that. Hang on, I'm trying to find this slide. Maybe recent would be better. Well, here, this one might work. So is this what you're talking about, Greg? Did you take an interactive slide?
I didn't see interactive slide as a part of it. So yeah, that might be beyond its capability.
Because like all of this on this slide is locked.
Oh, okay, sure.
But then if I take and let's see. See, oh, I gotta go. What's going on here? Last part of my screen. Whoops, sorry.
That's all right. Yeah, it looks like on our end it's sort of a little cut off too.
Well, how did I lose all my tools?
I'm not sure. If you wanted to unshare and reshare, you could try that. That sometimes is a good reset for it. Because I saw you doing the tricks that I would have done in changing the size.
All right, I'm gonna unshare, I guess.
Okay,
Sorry.
no problem. This is the fun with troubleshooting technology, right?
Oh, but it didn't even go back. Huh. Well, let's just clear the,
Anyone else had a
Clear it over.
similar issue to what Sherri's going through and been able to solve it? Greg says he thinks Google is ready for summer. I think I agree, right? Greg,
Yeah.
you're actually on summer break, aren't you?
I am technically. Yesterday was my last day.
Nice. Well, thanks for being here. Well, Sherri, while you play around with that a little bit, maybe I'm just thinking it actually, again, like I just love the idea that like that tool is not being your perfect tool for everything, but that it might be great for doing the interactive piece where you're having a student do something like that, but not always for those other things. Sherri, are you able to get to your controls enough to be able to show Krista about the sticky notes?
yeah.
Okay,
I just brought up a new one.
cool.
So I need to be able to share the jam with someone. Anybody want to volunteer?
You can share it with me.
What?
I can put my
That was you, Krista?
yeah. I can type my email in the message thing.
Okay.
Thank you all for coming to my wedding. First, I went there and proposed to the girls.
Okay. Should get a share thing in a minute.
Is it go to my email?
It goes to your email, yep. So then, okay, so I just clicked on my sticky note right now. Oh, and it's an untitled jam. I didn't title it, sorry. I'm really bad at titling them. So I'm typing on my sticky note right now.
This is the day. This is the day your dreams come true.
And so if I hit save, now it will show up. And but you on your board couldn't see it, right?
Well, I haven't been able to get into my board yet.
Oh, okay. Well,
I
I'll
haven't gotten anything
then.
from email yet. But so you posted it on there, and so
So when you make a sticky note, you click on this little button over here, the sticky note, and then you type. But the other person, like you won't be able to see me type
until you do save.
until you do save.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay, that makes sense.
So like if you have like 3 people or 4 people on your Jamboard, you can ask the class a question. Everybody can type on a sticky note the answer. So like if your question is, what's 3 plus 3? And everybody can type a different answer. And you can say, put your initials on it. And then when they all pop up, you know
Okay.
who.
Or you can assign a different color to each kid or something. That would be cool.
Yeah.
All
You
right, I like
could-
that.
Yeah, depending on how many kids you have, but yeah.
Yeah. I like it. Thank you.
Yeah. And then I think
Sorry about Beauty and the Beast in the background at my house.
I still haven't figured out how to do the I'll have to play around with it some more to see if you can get the Google Slides to go in.
Yeah, I think that's super cool. And actually, Sherri, that is a beautiful segue into Slack, which Greg is going to talk to us about a little bit today, because it's Slack. We have just started playing around with it, but it's a tool that maybe people can use to continue some of these conversations. So it's like, okay, we couldn't get it working today, but like, oh, if someone else can, then you can post, like, oh, I watched this video on YouTube, or just to kind of keep the conversation going about some of these tools after we're not here kind of face to computer. So Greg, did you want to share with us a little bit just about what Slack is?
Yes, I will. Can you hear me, Julie? Let's see.
Sorry, I was muted. Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Good. Yeah, my meet is totally wonky today. Like it's not working like it normally would. So can you see my Slack workspace screen on the presentation?
Right now, I just see your face. I
Okay,
don't see
all
your
right.
screen yet.
I'll present now. That's what I got to do. Okay, so yeah, this is cool. So kind of in the casual mode here, but trying to just get this all dialed in. I'm going to go entire screen. Let's do that. Sorry. So yeah, the whole goal of this is like on Saturday morning, I was really excited about some technology, and I was looking around. I was trying to I was playing with Jamboard, and I was super excited, Sherri. Like you inspired me to like, all right, I'm going to use this, and I'm going to like plan out my summer using Jamboard. I want to figure this tool out. And then I was like, I want to talk to somebody right now, but nobody wants to talk on a Saturday morning, but I want to find that information. And so what I think Slack is, and I've heard about it for years and years and years, is one of the best communication tools for a team. And so the idea is to try to have this be an option that we could continue, if we're going to be doing office hours next year, we can have little threads talking about Jamboard, or talking like maybe some people like Jamboard and some people are super excited about something else we talked about. And then we just, boom, make a new thread or a channel. And then that's where you can like have your super special interest and just look at that. You don't have to go through 50 emails to find that stuff you wanted. So that's kind of the hope, is it's a super casual place. It's not clean and polished, but I think it's being used by so many teams. I'm just curious, just a show of hands, or if you can just type in the message box, if you've heard of people using Slack and liking it. Like, can you just type in the message box, has anybody heard and used this? Like any kind of exposure, you know what I mean? Like if you've heard of it at all. I don't know. There's a better way I could phrase that. Haven't heard that, Wendy. Okay. Heard of it. So here's and then keep typing. So when I've heard of it, I've asked about what different ways that people communicate with the team. And by far, they've always said Slack is the one you just have to get. And so what it does is it tries to, in a way, enhance email. I'll say it. Okay, this is good. So people have not heard of it. So I think it's all right. And that helps me kind of know what we're talking to here. And so basically I would say, if you want to join in, it's kind of a tricky spot to start. We're just going to play around with it this summer. But we're just going to see how it goes. And now, Julie, can you just give me feedback? Can you see my entire screen? Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I have a workspace. So I started a Slack with COVID-19 survival tips, but this group is the one I were talking about. And so I'm going to share a link. And so today, if you want to, sorry, we're going way over a couple seconds here.
No, it's a good time.
That all right? Here's the link you can click into. And if you want to click that and just sign in using your work account or your personal, but just know which one you're using. Because I've had troubles getting into it a couple times. It's a little goofy, but I'll just say far and wide people are using it. So like the ESCO robotics team, they use this to communicate with their parents. And I know a parent that loves it because it's like, instead of having to read through the 50 emails to find the one piece of information you want, this puts it all into different categories for you. So at first it's going to look super complicated until we play with it a bit. So I appreciate Sherri already jumped onto this, but you'll notice here, so we've got some channels. And so here's the general conversation channel. And here's Sherri joined it. You know, I was looking at, so right up here, it says general announcements regarding Region 3 office hours, no conversation. I'm thinking, but to keep it clean. So if you want to know specifics, like what days things are going on, this might be the channel to go in. But if we're asking questions about, hey, when's the next one? And then you kind of have that conversation here. But if you want to only hear about the Jamboard conversation, you click this channel. And then you can see it here. So we've had some conversation about Jamboard here. So I added in the link of the YouTube that Julie shared with us, and I put in these awesome resources that if you wanted to go find them, you can just quickly go to this thread and find it. And so as we go forward, like here's kind of a random one, like, you know, we're talking about the weather and just kind of talking about Slack. We could add a channel, like say next year somebody talks about a specific app, and then we just add a channel on there, and then we could have people having conversations about just that, but it's not like pinging the entire group of like 30 people and only 5 people are interested in it. So that's kind of in a nutshell. And then there's direct messages where you can play around with, you got to watch if people are sending you messages. So it is a different feel, but it's just something, if people are interested, we're going to play around with this or a better app. That the task is trying to keep the conversation going, if that makes sense. That's the whole goal of it. So like right here, this is the document that Julie will add in there. But if you want to join it, you can click there if you didn't get that link in the chat box. But basically, kind of replacing email. It's a way to do a workspace. And this is a nice small way to do it with this group. And so it can just be a follow-up. You don't have to participate in it. It's just a little experiment we're thinking about playing with. So that's kind of everything I have to say about it, I guess. So,
super cool, Greg.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna, can I share my?
Yeah, I'm going to turn mine off. Did I turn mine off already?
Yep. We see
Cool.
your face now. I'm just going to share the slides just so people can see. This part wasn't in the slides when I shared out the PDF, but I will share out a new copy of the slides so that you can see. So in Slack, so there's just a link to just the Slack web page, but that Google Doc that Greg was just showing you that had some information about Slack is right in there. And then, Greg, I hope it's okay. I put your email address. Right,
no problem.
Great, right in the slide there. So you can email Greg, or you can email me to join that, and then we could send you the invitation if you can't get through on the link that just ended up in the window. But yeah, so when Greg first brought me on with the Slack thing, I was like, well, what's the benefits of it? But to me, I kind of envision it as like, it's like almost like text threads, but they're categorized. And I like that you can turn notifications off and on for those, so that like, I don't want to hear every message that someone's saying about Jamboard. I'm not interested in it or whatever. It really just, I think, is a streamlined way to communicate about a variety of different things that separates it out a little bit more from personal things. So I really liked that aspect of it. But I mean, what do people think about this? Do you think it could be a useful tool for teams to communicate, or for us to continue some of these conversations about tools that we've brought up?
Yeah, I think I need a little more like practice using it, but I think it's just like anything. I remember when I first started using Voxer to communicate with people, I was like, what is the point of this like walkie-talkie thing? Can't you just call me or send me a text message? But it is really cool to like just send that information back and forth. But I like that ability to kind of, I don't know if it was like hashtags, like hashtag things, or like label them to go back and find those threads. That's pretty cool.
Cool. I 100% agree. I think I need a lot more playing around with it too. So that could be a fun little project for us to check out a little bit. Cool.
I'm just, while we were talking, I'm like multitasking crazy now, like looking up Jamboard stuff. It looks like Jamboard has more capabilities if you're using it as a app on a mobile device than on the computer, possibly. So I haven't actually tried it, but I've noticed a couple of the different like tutorial things I've clicked on have said using your mobile device. And it sounds like there's a couple other features that might not be on the Google-ish thing that's on my computer. So something to check out.
There are a lot more things you can do on the app than you can on the Google Chrome, which I hope will be coming to the Chrome piece. Because the drawing part and the writing part on the app is very nice.
Yeah, and that also seems to be where you can pull in the slides and stuff like that, or at least more images is what it looks like. It says there's like a plus button, and that's just not even existent on my computer one that I'm looking at right now.
I'll have to look.
Yeah. Yep. Something to check out for sure.
The rooster in the background is great. Awesome. So that I love this. So that's what this conversation, right? Like, so we just solved a problem there going on. So and yeah, again, like I'd love to see these conversations continue to happen, because I think as individuals play around with it, it no longer becomes this individual like I'm figuring out Jamboard. It's like, oh, now we're all figuring out Jamboard together. So kind of crowdsources that information gathering, which is what I would love to see. A lot more teamwork all the way across the region. So very cool. We are getting a little close to the end of time, so I'm just going to flip through the rest of the slides, but know that I will definitely hang around, and anyone else is more than welcome to hang around once we wrap up at 12:30 just to continue the conversations. Just another topic of possible additional conversations. If you join Slack, we can also talk about like what other tools people have been using as they're going through distance learning, partially to continue that momentum as we're looking at next year, not knowing what that'll look like, but the possibility of carrying over some of this tool usage to next year too, for sure. I know Greg didn't do distance learning wins today, but that's just a link to the document from last time and a compilation of all those distance learning wins. So if you're looking for something positive, check that one out. I always say think about just one thing, and whether that is one way that you could use Jamboard or continuing the conversation on Slack or whatever that one thing is for you, whether that's for a student or for your own learning. Just think about that thing and focus on that to keep it manageable. And thanks everyone for attending. I'll make sure that I share out the slides with all the new links in them, and then also a recording of this. So I will go ahead and stop the recording. Thanks everyone for being here. And again, I'll hang around if there's more questions and more conversation too.